All right, hey guys, this is Mr. Boyd at Denver Christian School. I want to give you a quick kind of tutorial on how to get your MonoPrice Mini up and running on a new machine. First of all, the old original Cura, the 15 version that comes with the MonoPrice Mini, we stopped using it because it had some errors in it. It had a specific error at a specific part in the code. And so we upgraded to the newest, latest, and greatest Cura, which is, at this time, it's 2.5. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the internet and you're going to search for Ultimaker, because Ultimaker is the 3D printer company that gives away Cura for free. And you can either go right to the Cura software section right here, or if you're on Ultimaker, you're going to go to Products. You have to click, and from Products, you're going to get Cura software right there. Okay, right there. All right. Now, they're already up to the Cura 2.62, and it's auto-detecting that I'm on a Macintosh. What you may want to do is view all versions right here. It's going to take it a second to look. And you can see there are the Windows versions there and the Macintosh versions here. So again, I'm here on version, I think it tells you about Cura. I'm on version 2.5.0. It's probably fine to get a newer version than 2.5, but just letting you know that I'm doing this tutorial based on 2.5 right here. Okay? So you're going to download that, obviously. You're going to click on it, download it. They may make you go through some of these, say what you're using it for, and usually you'd say for educational or personal projects, etc., etc. Just get to the point where you can download it. Okay? Once you have downloaded it and installed it, and you may go through some kind of, when it first starts up, trying to help you pick a printer. In this case, we're going to do a printer. This is assuming you're already in there. It's a very similar workflow to if you're doing this the first time Cura starts up. Okay. The key thing is that I'm using Manage Printers here, and I'm going to add a new printer. Okay. I'm going to add a new printer. And it is not any of these that auto detect. These are the ones here, right? There's PrinterBot Play if you have one. They do not have a MonoPrice Mini. Now they do have a Malian M180 here, which is very, very similar to a MonoPrice Mini. Okay. In fact, Malian makes them for MonoPrice. MonoPrice is an American company. Malian is the company in China that makes them for them. So you could pick the Malian M180 and then we're going to change some of the settings. Or what more often than not happens is I simply pick custom right here and I do a custom FDM printer. But if you would like, and I'll just go ahead and do it right now, I'll go ahead and pick the Malian M180. Okay, so let's, and we're actually going to change the name, and we're going to call this MonoPrice Mini. And if you look for just a second here out on the internet, you can see what a Malian M180 is. Okay, that's their larger version, but Malian is the company that makes the Mini as well. So they use a lot of similar sorts of settings. It's not a different company. It may be a different looking printer, but very similar stuff. Okay, just pretty much a larger build envelope. Okay, back here to Cura. So I'll go ahead and pick the Malian M180. That's fine, but I'm going to call it the MonoPrice Mini, and I'm going to hit Add Printer. Okay, now it's going to add a bunch of settings and things that are probably not entirely accurate to what I've got here. And you know, I'm already noticing here that I don't have some of the settings that I'd really like to have. So I may just actually, I'm going to take this and I'm going to remove it. And well, no, you know, I'm going to go through this once without it. I like to see the settings. Oh, okay. I like to see some of the other settings over here. So I'm just going to do custom FDM, add printer. Okay, and that's actually, yes, that's why you want to do custom. So here's where you're going to get the core rep wrap code, and you're going to get to change some of these settings. This is the critical stuff right here that you have to change to get your 0 to be in the correct location on the MonoPrice Mini. All right, first things first, all of these codes need to stay in here. You need the G28i home, you need the GLZ 15, all this 15 millimeters down, prime the extruder, all that other kind of stuff here. E3, 0, looks like all these are good, okay? These are all fine. The rest of this stuff, not so much. I don't really want this thing to think that it has an infinite gantry height. A gantry height of 100 is fine. We do want to have an X minimum of 0 and a Y minimum of 0, so I'm going to change both of those. And our Y max is 120, and excuse me, our X max is 120, and our Y max is 120 also. Okay, over here on X width, Y depth, and Z height, these all need to be changed to 120. Okay, 120 and 120. Okay, your build plate shape is rectangular, not elliptic or any of these other weird ones, okay? You don't need any of these. Well, you know what? You do have a heated bed, so it doesn't hurt to add that. And you notice as soon as I did that, the option got added over here for, I think, this grew just a little bit. And I'm trying to remember where it grew, speed, diameter, cooling. It might be under special modes now or something like that. But it did get added. In fact, I think if I... There it is, build plate temperature, right there, it gets added. So you do want that turned on. The center of the machine is not 0, it's actually up at the corner, so don't check that one, okay? So you should have these 120s here, 00, 120 here, gantry height of 100, and 0.4 for the nozzle size there. And we are using generic rep wrap Marlin Sprinter, okay? We're not doing any of the rest of these, okay? Some people will do Repetier. We're just doing basic rep wrap. Okay, that's the free one. That's why they use it, because it's open source. Okay, here we go. We're going to hit finish. And I really need to rename this thing, so I'm going to rename it. And here we go. We're going to call this MonoPrice Mini. And hit OK. All right, I'm just going to go back to those machine settings and verify that everything's okay there. All right, you may not have all this memorized, that's fine, but the basic rep wrap code is what you need in here. All right, these are the codes that turn on the fans. They have to be there and turn on the heater and turn off the fans, etc. The key thing is getting these 0 locations and everything set. Okay, now, and I've never been quite entirely clear on what the whole point of the activate is, but you can activate it. All right. What that usually does is it moves it to be the main main printer here. If I activate the PrinterBot Play, you'll see that it activates it over here. So MonoPrice Mini activate sends it to the code here. Okay, I need to do a couple more things just to be on the safe side here, because again, we're doing this completely custom. Materials. Right now, it thinks your main PLA material, your main generic PLA, is 2.85 millimeters. That is not correct. Okay, you're using 1.75 millimeter material. I'm just confirming that that's correct on these other ones here. Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're on generic PLA, and that's being changed here. Oops. Let's, well, okay, actually, here you go. You just need to pick one of the PLAs that is 1.75 millimeter, all right? Doesn't matter what it is. Notice the density doesn't change. Density is always 1.24 grams per centimeter cubed. That's pretty common for PLA. The key thing is you want one of these activated that's 1.75. If you have 2.85 millimeters, it's going to think you have a massive, much thicker filament, and so it doesn't need to push as hard to get as much out because there's already so much there. There's almost twice as much there, and so you're going to get these really thin, wispy parts, and you're not going to know why. So you need to get up here, and you need to make sure that your default, and you're going to set that there. You're going to activate that one, and what it should have done is it should have changed that diameter right there to 2.8, from 2.85 to 1.75. And let's see here. I'm going to take this one. Oh, another thing we're going to do is later we're going to turn this default printing down. Let's see here. Take this. It's not giving me any control over any of these. Take this one here. I really just want to activate it. We're going to end up probably having to change it over here. All right, but do it anyway, okay? Plugins you don't care about, profiles. Here's where the normal and high quality and some of that stuff are. You're just going to set your quality. Your quality is going to be entirely dependent on your speed and everything over in here, all right? So just leave it on normal, which leaves it blank, in fact, okay? There's our MonoPrice Mini. Can continue to activate it. Again, we're going to have to fix it over here. You'll notice here in the machine settings, there's no place for that, that filament size. Okay, settings one last time here. Oh, here's where you can add some things to this. One of the ones that I like to do is on the infill. I like to make sure that the infill pattern is set. Okay. Let's see. Travel speeds, all those should be the same. Flow, enable retraction. You definitely want to make sure retraction is enabled here. Those should all be good. Build plate temperature we added. Everything else looks fine. Okay. And you definitely want to have this enable support down here. In fact, let's go down to, where is it? There's material, there's speed. There's a lot of settings in here. In fact, some of these you may want to come back if you ever want to do ABS printing. You may want to come back and mess with some of these here, where the initial printing is a little bit warmer to get it to stick to the plate, because that's a big deal for ABS. Let's see. Back here, there's speed. We're almost there. Travel. There's a neat one in some of the new versions where you can actually get everything to make it as a spiral. Let's see, there's cooling, there's support. Okay, you don't need this because you don't have a separate infill extruder. None of the rest of this stuff here. Support pattern and overhang angle. Those are two that are worth putting in there, because otherwise normally in the old Cura you had to go do that completely separately. So it's probably really nice to have those checked on. Okay, because you can say if it's overhanging by too much of an angle, you can kind of dial that in and dial it up and down and see the results of how much support material you're going to have over here. So I would go and turn both of those on. None of the rest of this I think do you really need. Obviously, if you're really worried about something, you might have to go in and mess with it. But so far, so good. I think those are fine. Towers and tower diameter might come into play a little bit more often if you have a character with like say you had a character and they were just added their arm outstretched and nothing supporting it, you might want a tower to support that. Okay, I think that's it. In fact, with dual extrusion, because we know we don't have dual extrusion, I would maybe even turn off dual extrusion. You're not going to mess with it, so just leave it where it is. Okay. There we go. Good. Go ahead and hit close. Okay. Things we need to do. We need to change this to 1.75 diameter. Okay. Good. Okay. This needs to be, we have found that lower is better. Okay. We found that 195 is better. The 200s are too hot. You run the risk of burning your material in and setting it like almost gluing it into the nozzle. So the lowest you can get away with, where it still flows and works, the better. So we've been working, we thought we needed to clean it out with a nice hot nozzle. That was a total mistake. I would say, as a rule right now, I would never ever let your nozzle get above 200. In fact, any way you can get it to be under 200, do it. Okay. Let's see. Infield pattern, grid is fine. Sometimes some of these other ones are cool. Zigzag's a fun one, but it's nice to have that option to see that it's on grid. Okay. Infill density, you know, very often 20% works great, but now you have that control over that. Okay. Wall thickness, I usually keep at 0.8 and 0.8 here. All right. This is really one of the major quality settings here, is where you set how fine the layers are. In general, 0.2 is quick and medium when you just need the part out fast. You don't want to wait 10 hours overnight for it to print. Okay, and 0.1 is when you really have like a tiny figurine or something like that and you need it super accurate. All right, so I would use that one. Flow, you're going to keep it 100%. That's fine. Build plate temperature. You could actually, if you're using blue painter's tape and glue stick, you could actually go ahead and turn this off. In most cases, because we have pretty good adhesion with our blue painter's tape and our our glue stick, we're actually able to run it with the build plate off, just because that's one less thing to worry about being hot or warm or any of those kind of things. If you want to leave it at 60, that's fine. A little warm isn't going to hurt, but we've been completely fine with it off. Let's see, print speed 60 and travel speed 120. We've actually been dialing these down to 40 and to 55. Because if it travels too quickly, it's jerking back and forth as it's moving from one area that it's been printing to another, and it can cause some problems. Same thing with print speed. If you want good quality, you want to keep this kind of down there, okay? You could even go lower than this. The smaller you make these numbers, the better your quality is going to be, but the longer it's going to take. You want to keep them high enough that it's not printing on cold material that's been sitting around for so long. So a lot of the adjustment to quality happens here in these two numbers and here in this number. Not so much in some of the rest of these. These are sort of minimums to get you by, period, okay? You do want to enable support, okay? And you want to be careful with this. Everywhere is usually good, okay, especially because you don't know when something's going to be overhanging. This is one of the ones you're just going to have to play around with, and you're going to have to watch and see how much support material gets created and is supporting things. If a character has an arm outstretched and nothing supported, keep messing with this angle until you see that their entire arm is supported with support material, okay? And again, mess with lines or grid or zigzag or something like that, okay? Build plate brim. I've been getting by with a build plate brim down around 5. It lets me squeeze bigger models into here without needing so much of a brim around. But brim is definitely the build plate adhesion method to use, okay? I would not go smaller than 5 because you need enough surface area to really stick something down. If you had a super thin, tall tower that was going to be really tippy like a lever arm, I might even make that 20, okay? So it was lots and lots of rings adhering it to the plate, because if a big thin tower tips over, you're going to get a gob of plastic goobered up on the bottom of your printer, okay? This has been pretty good for us in most cases. So these are the settings most commonly that you're going to use. Again, that 195 is critical. Your real quality comes from whether or not you do a thin layer of 0.1 or a thick layer of 0.2, and your speeds here. But these are some pretty good settings for most things. Okay? At this point, it's not a bad idea to save your file, to save this profile or whatever it might be. But I would honestly even just get by with a screen capture and just check this every time. Make sure that you're getting your tape put on. We put our tape on horizontally and tear it off on the build plate. Put it on horizontally and tear it off and just build it up in layers. We've tried doing vertical ones and so on and so forth, but it's just, I think it's easier to line stuff up when you just kind of go horizontal and tear it off, horizontal and tear it off, and get those seams between the pieces of tape as tight as you can. Put some glue stick down, and then you're ready to go. That should do it. There are other methods where you can bring in files. You can open other projects, and you can actually get settings from projects and things like that. This seems to be the best way for right now to ensure that everything's working. I'm not going to show you something right at the moment here. Well, maybe I can. Let's see. File, open recent. Okay, here's a Batman character. And again, here's all my here's all my scaling settings and so on and so forth. There's my time, 3 hours and 20 minutes. I can take him and rotate him. You'll notice this is built on purpose to be flat like that. If I rotate him like this and he moves up, these are unsupported areas where I would want support material, okay? And if I show that, okay, I'm using my right mouse button to kind of rotate around here, and I'm using my middle mouse button to drag up and down. If you don't have a middle mouse button, you'll need to get a mouse that has one. So there's the support material, okay? And I can change, when I say that, I'm talking about this stuff right here. Here's our brim. And if I change the support material to grid, you're going to see some different support material. Yeah, a little different, not a whole lot different, okay? But I don't need that at all if I think ahead and look for things to be built flat as often as I can anyway. Okay. Notice now if I switch back to the full layer view, I don't need any support material other than a brim. Okay. And that should stick just wonderfully. Okay. There you go. I hope that helps. I know that was a long video, but it's really important that you get everything set up and working correctly, and that those settings are the way that we described in here. All right. Best of luck.